This morning on BRN, is there a retirement crisis? Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Andrew Biggs is with the American Enterprise Institute. Andrew, so great to see you again. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And look, I love retirement. I love retirement policy. You have written about retirement policy. You've taken had a lot of detailed research in this area. And I want to start out with a very basic question to you. And that is, in America today, is there a retirement savings crisis?
Well, I can give you the one-word answer to that, which is no.
Okay.
Um, and this has been an issue I really looked at for the past 10, almost 15 years. And while polls show Americans, clearly believe there is a crisis. If you ask them that question, they will say yes. And yet the data tell a very, very different story. And I think the disconnect is that Americans fear there's a retirement crisis for other people. But if you actually ask retirees today, to describe their financial security, maybe about 5% would describe their own financial situation as a retirement crisis. So it really makes more sense, instead of asking people, well, what do you think about the country? Ask them, what do you think about your own situation? And when you do that, it's a much more positive uh, picture. And the other data back that. If you think of the things that we always tell people they should do to have a secure retirement, by and large, we're doing them. You tell people, okay, they should sign up for a 401k plan. You say, oh, you should increase the amount you contribute to your plan. We tell people, you shouldn't retire in your 50s. You should continue working longer. We tell people, don't claim Social Security at 62. Delay it so you get a higher benefit. We are in fact doing each and every one of those things. Retirement savings are at record high levels, not just sort of on average, but in every age, education, or racial or ethnic group. Labor force participation older ages at record highs. People are claiming Social Security benefits probably a year and a half later today on average than they did in 1990. So really, the picture is very, very positive. What happens though is you see a lot of coverage and reports and claims that the retirement system isn't working, and despite the vast number of those claims, I'll just say once you start pulling at the strings of them, they almost always just fall apart.
Right. So, I guess maybe the media need to be better at kind of doing their fact checking and research, or I guess it gets, look, anytime you can point out that there's a crisis, it gets clicks, Andrew. I mean, it gets the attention, and that's ultimately what they're trying to get because they want to get advertisers.
Well, sure. I've run through this a couple times in the past, but there's really nobody has an incentive to tell the more encouraging story about the retirement system. The media doesn't want to tell the real story because nobody clicks on that. A headline saying, "Hey, Americans are saving well for retirement," ho hum, but we face a retirement crisis, or Americans are entering retirement the least prepared in decades, which is a Wall Street Journal headline. People are going to click on that, and so that drives traffic, which is very important to them. At the same time, at the political level, you have a lot of people who are skeptical about private retirement savings. They see what can go wrong rather than what can go right. They would prefer to have expanded Social Security government savings program. So they don't have the incentive to tell that story. And to be honest, I think even on the industry side, they often don't, in the sense that they may think that it makes more sense to scare people a little bit into saving more than
Yeah.
to say, look, our product really works. They've got something to sell and they want to sell it. And I'm not accusing the industry people of dishonesty. I'm just saying that you need to take all of this into account. I mean, when you really look at it, the data do speak for themselves.
Yeah. Andrew, we just celebrated ERISA's the passage of ERISA's 50th anniversary. I'm not sure many Americans actually know that, but we've had the Pension Protection Act in 2006, and we just passed, not we, Congress, the president just signed into law Secure and Secure 2.0. All that being said, it has improved the retirement system. Are there areas that where you would further improve the retirement system to better serve Americans? For example, coverage, getting more people involved.
Sure. Well, I think it's interesting to start with a reference to ERISA. Participation in traditional defined benefit pensions in the private sector peaked in 1974, 1975. And so you're really looking at half a century ago. And since then, it's been declining steadily. At the same time, you'll often hear in studies or reports, as America transitions from traditional pensions to retirement accounts, what's going to happen? There was never a time, even at the peak, when majority of private sector workers had a DB plan. In 1974, I think it was 39% participation among private sector workers. And of that group, because the pre-ERISA vesting rules are very strict, literally 9 out of 10 did not collect their benefits. So, you look back and you say, well, how come employers were willing to offer these plans? Well, because they didn't really have to fund them because the pre-ERISA funding rules were weak, and they didn't have to pay you a benefit. So, well, sure, they're going to do that. But what you find is that the shift from traditional pensions to retirement accounts, principally 401ks, has been a positive one for retirement savings. Employers are much more willing to offer a retirement account than they are to offer a DB plan. I've done a lot of work in the DB side, and managing one of those things is very difficult. Similarly, with retirement accounts, 401ks, both the employer and the employee pay in. So if you can go to Department of Labor data and look at contributions to retirement plans, and you take total contributions as a percentage of total wages, and that's up by something like 50% since the mid-1970s. And mid-1970s, a little under 6% of wages going into retirement plans. Today, it's somewhere over 9%. So we're saving 50% more for retirement today than we did back in this supposed golden age. And I really do think it's interesting to look at the improvements in retirement accounts along the way. You mentioned some of the legislation that has occurred, but it's often what happened there was you were sort of enabling things that the providers wanted to do. Something like automatic enrollment was tough to do before Pension Protection Act. And you allowed them to do things they want to do. They want to innovate. They want to control costs. They want to make things easier. The issues people would raise with 401ks when I was much younger, of people don't often sign up for their plan, or they don't know how to rebalance their investments. That's largely been solved.
Yep.
People are in target date funds. We have much more use of automatic enrollment today. And so it is, in fact, an innovating, forward-moving industry. At the same time, I do a lot of work on Social Security. And literally for 40 years, Congress has known that Social Security faces long-term funding gap and has done precisely nothing about it. So, I think you want to look at the sort of 401k world may not be perfect, but you want to look at them in comparison to the alternatives. And if the alternatives are Social Security, which Congress refuses to fix, or traditional pre-ERISA DB pensions where you probably weren't going to get a benefit, I think 401ks are a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I think you make some really important points there, and I'm hopeful that we'll bring you back. We'll have to tell more of these stories, because I think, to your earlier point, I think that a lot of these positive successes, maybe they don't sell well to drawing in an audience, but they do sell well if you want to save for retirement in your future. Andrew, we're going to have to leave it there. So great to see you again. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse, for all the news in one place. Details are at our website. And we're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.